Namaskar and Jai Gurudev. Uh, Welcome to the live session of alternative therapy. And we have with us Ms. Nikita Vasa, who is a certified and registered biodynamic craniosacral therapist. She is an executive member of the Pacific Association of Craniosacral Therapists, BCST, representing Asia, and also assists the BCST training with body intelligence trainings in India. She has treated clients for physical, emotional, psychological trauma and chronic pain. Welcome, Nikita.
Thank you.
And you see, I would like to start the show by asking you a very, a question which comes to my mind always. And I hope also the other people, it'll be a very interesting subject. What is the science of pain? We always talk about pain, this pain, that pain. So what is the science behind it? You can feel free to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me, and it's so nice to be back again. And it is a very interesting topic, pain. As you said, most of us just experience pain. We don't know what really happens in the body, when we experience pain. But very simply put, pain is a protective mechanism in the body, right? So when you injure yourself, when you hurt or you fall, or if something happens inside the body, it sends a signal to the brain, and that part of the body gets highlighted, that something is wrong here. And so after that, the brain says that, okay, this place needs to get some attention, and that's why you have a sensation called pain. Now, once it has spotlighted or highlighted this place, then that place starts getting inflamed, or it starts swelling up because there is a rush of blood and the immune cells. So there's a lot of things that the brain does to ensure that that place starts healing. Healing is a natural mechanism in the body, right? If you hurt yourself, even if you get a small paper cut or something, even though it's extremely painful, it heals by itself, right? You don't have to do much. So there is a natural healing mechanism in the body. Now, what we think is pain is something that is bad, or pain is an input. Pain is not an input, it is an output of something that's already happening in the body. And if we did not have, or rather, if we did not experience a sensation called pain, we would keep hurting ourselves again and again. So, pain is actually your friend. It is supposed to help you so that you don't hurt yourself in the same place again and again. Have you met certain people who have hurt the same place again and again?
Yes,
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah. So that is because there is a certain imbalance in the nervous system. That is why they get hurt in the same place again and again. And then that place becomes so fragile and so sensitive that the smallest of triggers can hit it off and make it like a flare up. That happens. So that is the science behind pain. It is a protective mechanism that is supposed to help us so that the natural healing process of the body can take over.
Okay, I think you talk about the physical pain. Now, what if there is an emotional pain?
So most often, so the interesting thing about pain is that firstly, pain is not the how do I say, now two people, for example, we are talking about emotion, right? So let's put this into context. Pain is contextual, right? So for example, you are a guitarist, I'm not a guitarist, and you have a show coming up, and you hurt your finger with which you play your guitar. I don't have anything like that, I hurt my finger. Now, for you, because the context is that you have a live show coming up and it is the fingers, and you won't be able to play the guitar easily or well enough, or you won't be able to play it at all, the intensity and the volume of the pain you experience will be very different from the way I experience. Because it doesn't matter to me. I'm not a guitarist, I don't have a show coming up. It is not my identity. It is not my bread and butter. So pain is very contextual. So if your brain thinks that it is that even though something is wrong in that particular part of the body, it is not necessarily supposed to feel painful, you will not feel painful. But if your brain thinks that, oh my God, this has happened to me in the past and it pains so much and it is going to be like a flare up and this happened and that happened, you will have pain. So your pain is very contextual in nature. And the way we have dealt with pain while growing up in our early ages, if we have a trauma free memory, if we have a strong nervous system, if we have support, all the memories that we have also relates in the intensity of pain we feel at the moment. So the brain will pick up all different permutation combinations to give an output of the experience of the pain you have today, right now. So if somebody has had, say, for example, take the same example, the guitarist, right? So you've had an issue and because of that you were not able to play your live show. The next time if something like that happens, the pain will be double, probably because the brain will be in the space of fear, in that loop of fear, and the way and the amount of your healing will be very different. Now, for example, in the same situation, the previous time your hands healed and you were able to play in your live show, and if you had that same experience again, your brain will be like, last time it went off, I figured it out and it went off. So this time, even if it comes, it will not be a life sentence, it will not be fatalistic. So pain is very contextual. So emotions, memories, all of that stays. Have you heard of people saying that, I fell on my back and I had an issue, and ever since then I've been having pain in my back for like 10-20 years? Have you heard that
Yes,
also?
yes, yes,
इतने सालों से मेरे को दर्द है, वो तो है
yes.
ही, like it's become part of their life, part
Even
of
if there is no dard also,
हाँ
he feels pain there.
हाँ. So that is also because there is something that happened around that time when he or she first experienced the pain, and that incident, which is more psychological, more emotional in nature, has not been resolved. And that is why the moment the person thinks of it, or any sort of trigger from outside or familiarity from outside, the brain picks it up as a sense of danger and equal to pain. And so the pain continues for all lifelong, or however long, for years together.
So we can say that emotional pain is related to the psychological, thing.
Yeah, because mind and body cannot be separated.
Mhm. I
You
think
know,
there is one question that I'm going to ask you later. I mean, whether we can disconnect mind and body, mind and physical body.
no, you
We
cannot.
cannot.
You cannot, because um, it's like your brain is, Gurudev keeps saying that your brain is like a frequency analyzer. So the mind is always present. It is always judging right, wrong, good, bad, and the body is continuously feeling whatever the mind is judging. So it cannot be disconnected. Yes, in a certain sense, if there is extreme trauma, then there is a certain disconnect of the body. That is in cases of extreme trauma. That happens then.
Okay, now the next question that I'm going to ask you, pain and its danger.
So our brain has just one job. The brain and spinal cord make the nervous system, correct? Yes.
Yes,
Now the
yes.
nervous system, which is the brain and spinal cord, they just have one job. They'd have the job to help you survive through life. And for that, what it will do, it will scan the external environment and the internal environment just for one thing. Am I safe or not? Only then it can help you survive, right? So safety is the number one priority of the brain. Am I safe right now or not? Now what happens is it will scan the external environment, and if it feels something feels threatening or dangerous, the alarm signal will go to the brain. Similarly, it will do inside, it will scan the internal environment. So dehydration, nutritional deficiencies, um, is the blood flow proper, is the endocrine system, is the hormonal system fine, is there an imbalance there, is the gut microbe fine, is there an imbalance there. So it will look at all the balances, imbalances, because the body has to keep you all the time in balance, in check, right, for all the systems to work properly. Now if there is a alarm signal internally, a danger or threat signal internally, it will trigger a part of the brain. So then external, internal, it will scan both the environments, and then the sensation of pain is unique to each person. The output, which is called pain, is unique to each person. So the volume, the intensity of pain, the amount, how long you're going to have the pain, all this combined with your past experiences is what it will say. So combined
Yes,
with
right.
all these experiences, it will say if there is danger or no danger. Now if there is danger, and if the past experience say that you know what, you have dealt with it and it's nothing to worry about, you will not feel pain at all. But if the brain says, oh no 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 no, this is dangerous and this happened and then this went on to be this thing, then you will feel pain. So the brain controls whether you get the experience of pain or not. So so now we have pain scientists. We have pain scientists across the world that study pain. So they did a very interesting experiment. They just scanned people's backs. They did MRI imaging of people's backs, all ages, and they did there is a lot of lower back pain that is happening, right? It is pretty much like a pandemic in the world. Everybody is experiencing lower back pain. So that's why they started this experiment. And they did this experiment and they saw that there was one group of people who had what you call disc herniations, degenerated discs, you know, the vertebral disc. That is what I'm
Yes.
talking about, the vertebral disc.
And nowadays you can hear this problem, disc
Ah,
problem. Yeah.
yeah. So there was one section of people who had all the issues showed up in the MRI, but they experienced no pain. They had no idea that their spinal, whatever, vertebral discs had been herniated or degenerated or had a bulge or whatever. They did not experience any pain. Vis-a-vis another group of people that had the same, disc issues happening but felt a lot of pain.
Yeah.
So so what I'm trying to say is that any imaging or any MRI or any scanned reports, they cannot measure the amount of pain you are going through. And it doesn't mean that if you have something wrong in your tissues, it has to end up in pain. It's not true at all. So they've done multiple experiments like that, where even if something is wrong in your body and the brain thinks that it is not painful, you will not feel pain.
So I'm very much astonished. Through
Hmm.
this therapy, can we measure the amount of pain that we have?
So people come to you with pain. So people come
Yes.
to me with pain. So they anyway know if they have pain or not.
Yeah. Okay. They realize that they have a pain, but how much is it? Is it through your therapy? There's a, craniosacral therapy. Can we come to know how much is the pain? Isn't it?
No, because the pain is very unique to each person.
Okay.
So the amount of pain, the intensity of pain that two people feel with the same issue and the same circumstance can be very different. So pain is pain. You cannot think your way out of pain, and you cannot think that you don't have pain. It is not a mental game, it is a purely physical sensation which is unique to each person. Yes, through BCST, the pain can be addressed, managed, released. It doesn't have to become part of a person's identity. It doesn't have to, you know, change your quality of living. People do that, if they have a lot of pain, the quality of life is completely changed. They're not able to do the things they like doing. This is what, people come and tell most often, that I used to love doing ABCD, now I'm not able to do it because I have pain.
Mhm.
So
Okay, now what I understand, Nikita, is that whenever there is an alarm, we must reset it. We must reset it, which means that we must see a doctor, you think? Or you must see a therapist.
If the pain is acute, then yes, you definitely need to see a doctor or a therapist. But if it is not an acute pain, if you've just kind of sprained your leg or twisted your ankle, you see how it goes for a day or two. And if it doesn't, if you think it's still bad or worse, then you go see a doctor. So,
Okay, is it true that physical pain, for a physical pain, you need not see a doctor, but for an emotional pain, you should see a doctor or you should see a therapist?
No, for any kind of pain that you cannot handle by yourself,
Okay, yes.
whether physical or emotional, if it is unbearable for you, for that particular person, because everybody's pain threshold is very different,
Okay.
they should definitely go visit a doctor, a therapist, whoever. But yes, a consultation is good.
Okay, so you have mentioned chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can tell us about chronic pain and acute pain.
Okay. So, if you've injured your body, within 3 to 6 months, the tissues in your body will heal. This is even for a third-degree burn. Like you've broken a bone, you've burned, you've had an whatever, fire accident or an incident on your skin. Everything in your body heals within max to max 6 months. Now, even after 6 months, if you experience pain, that is called chronic pain. Acute pain is supposed to be there, it is supposed to feel painful till that particular place is fully healed. Otherwise, you'll keep hurting that area again and again. So, during acute pain, it is necessary for you to feel pain, and it is necessary for that place to feel swelled up or inflamed. That is natural. It is part of the healing process. Now, after that said amount of time, if you're still experiencing pain, it becomes chronic.
Okay, so first comes the acute pain, and then after over a period of time, after about 6 months, it becomes chronic.
Yes.
And we should
At
see
that
a
time,
therapist, I think, when it is on acute stage only.
yes, at the acute stage anyway, you will be visiting either a therapist or a doctor, and whatever course you have to finish, you finish. But then when you have chronic pain, that is when our brain, it has a sensory detective system. So what it does, when we spoke about danger, it says danger, safety, right? Now, if there are signals of danger that are coming through, and it turns into a loop, so this loop doesn't change after your acute pain and your healing is done. So your tissues have healed, but you still have pain after 6 months. Then the brain is stuck in a continuous loop of protection. It still thinks that something is wrong there, but nothing is wrong there.
Yeah.
The brain is still thinking, oh, something is wrong here, something's wrong here. Nothing is wrong there. Everything is healed. So that loop, that system needs to break. And therapies like BCST, and there are a lot of other therapies. There's Marma, there's Meru, there are a lot of therapies. They help you break that false alarm system that is saying, oh, it is still paining, it is still paining.
But how does it happen? Just by touching that limb, or just by touching that part of the body. How does it happen? It is very surprising, actually.
Yes. So there are certain receptors in the body that respond to a light and gentle touch. So when you came out of when any of us came out of our mother's womb, how were we held?
Yeah, we held on the.
Was it a light touch?
Yes, yes.
Did you press the child? No, right? It was
No,
a gentle light touch.
yes.
The gentle light touch is the first touch we experience, which gets registered in our memory. Till then, we have not experienced touch. And touch is a sensory perception that gives the signal of safety to the brain. Now, these receptors get activated the moment you have that light touch and a meditative therapeutic space. And our bodies have something called connective tissues. So, from the toe to the head, we are wrapped in a particular tissue. Have you seen an Egyptian mummy?
Yes, I
Ah,
in a museum.
so yes. So we in a museum, I'm glad. So our bodies are wrapped like that in a single tissue, right? So for example, I'm wearing this, and if I constrict this part, how I can only move my arm so much. If I leave this, I can move my arm full. So there is a connective tissue that is wrapped in the body, and if it gets constricted and tight in different parts of the body, internally our body is a bit misaligned. It's a bit off balance. So when any one system gets off balance, all the other systems of the body get off balance. Because then you have muscles, you have nerves, you have bones, you have tissues, you have blood, you have lymph, everything goes off balance. So the moment you give a gentle touch, that connective tissue starts releasing. When that starts releasing, all the other systems come back into balance. And the most important thing, the brain gets the signal of safety. When the brain gets the signal of safety, the danger signals come down. So that false alarm system gets a disruption. When that gets a disruption, the body starts, the amount of pain, the intensity of pain that the body feels, it lessens and lessens, and eventually it releases.
Okay, Nikita, we got some live questions.
Okay.
So one question is that are pain and emotions related?
Yes.
It's always.
It's always related.
Now there is one more. Many doesn't even know pain is important to be taken care. Any inputs on it?
Yes, I mean, uh, pain is important, but the important thing to understand is not to look at it as an enemy. Pain is not there to hurt you, pain is there to protect you. So, yes, it is important to address that pain, but not become fearful about it.
Okay.
Because the moment we attach fear with pain, then it's a down journey.
So then don't get. We can say to the the spectators that don't get scared with the pain. It is something that will protect you basically. When there is a pain only, you will go to the doctor and it will be treated, and
So,
it will be recovered.
see, our body gives us a lot of cues before something wrong happens. Unless it is a physical injury which you are not expecting, our body gives us a lot of cues when it goes off balance. Your sleeping will go off, your digestion may go off, your clarity may not be there as much. You may not be as much in, awe, wonder. Your energy levels may go through dips. So, when you have all these cues, the moment you start addressing them, you strengthen your body. You strengthen your body for anything that that comes. That is why during the pandemic it was all about immunity. As much as it was about letting the COVID go and things like that, the more you strengthen your body, whatever issues you have, it will resolve faster. It's like charging your battery, your phone. If your phone has 80% charge, you can do so much work, or you can heal so with in so much amount of time. But if you have only 20% battery, then your healing process is also going to take that much time.
So basically, you got to be mentally fit, all the time, 100%.
Not
Then you
just
can take it.
mentally, even physically,
Physically, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're mentally fit, you can take care of all the pains that you have.
Yes, so there is one thing that Gurudev says, that a strong mind can carry a weak body, but a weak mind cannot carry a strong body.
Absolutely correct. Yeah.
So yes.
There is another question: how does pattern and pain correlate?
How does pattern and pain correlate? Okay. As I mentioned, if you ignore the cues that your body are giving you, or if you ignore, or rather if you do not recognize certain things that you are doing unknowingly, it may lead to a degeneration quicker in the body than usual. So our bodies obviously will, that's how we age, right? There is certain amount of degeneration in your joints, in your bones, and there is constant change, right? So whatever patterns we have, like for example, some people have a very stiff jaw and lip. Like it is part of their culture to have a very stiff jaw and lip.
Okay.
So they walk very tight, which is a pattern. Now, the moment you relax the jaws and a stiff lip or a stiff jaw, all this releases. So you will never have a cervical condition, or you will never have an issue in your head or eyes for that matter. But if you have a pattern where you see a constricted jaw, you will have issues here. Similarly, you have some people who sit in a specific way. So you have postural patterns. Postural patterns may lead to pain. If I sit like this, where will I have pain?
I have pain in the back or in the waist region.
Exactly. Or if I sit like this, where will I have pain?
Yeah, on the shoulder,
I
neck.
have on the shoulder or the middle back, because
Yeah.
I'm pushing out the middle back. So there are postural patterns that may lead to pain.
Okay.
So you have that also happening. And some of us, actually most of us, we have a bit of misalignment in our bodies, which is natural and normal. But if one place is always tight, then the other side of the body will be overbearing. Have you noticed this? For example, if you've had a fracture in your right leg, and you have to put all your weight on your left leg, and if that is not corrected after the fracture is over and you become normal, there will always be a holding on the right leg. So you will feel your right side is always tight and your left side is a little loose. Some people say one side of my body is always tight and one side of my body is loose. So those are patterns. If those patterns are not addressed, then they will lead to pain.
Okay. Now tell me, if I take, because of the pain, if I take a pill, I take a pill and I get recovered within a few hours or within a few days. But alternate therapy, you think it is very, very useful? Does it recover quick enough, or it takes some time?
So what happens when we take a painkiller? First, we need to understand that. When we take a painkiller, it puts your nervous system to sleep, which basically means it numbs your nervous system so that you cannot feel pain. It doesn't mean that you don't have pain or the nervous system is in balance. That's not what it means. It just means your nervous system has been numbed so that you are able to sleep, so that the healing process can happen. And you're not in that constant hypersensitive vigilant mode, because some people, when they have extreme pain, the slightest of triggers, some light, some noise, something will trigger them. They become hypersensitive. So when that is the case, it just dulls your nervous system. It doesn't change your nervous system. In alternate therapies, we change the false loop, the alarm signal loop.
So basically, you address the core issue, from where it is started.
Yes.
You address there.
We address the imbalance in the nervous system to understand why it still says danger, danger when there is no danger, or pain, pain when there is nothing in the body that's physically wrong inside. Painkillers will only numb the nervous system.
Okay. Now, how do we disconnect pain and body?
Disconnection of pain and body is natural. Because pain is supposed to protect you. If there is too much pain, you will automatically disconnect from the place, because you cannot take that much amount of sensation. So it is a natural phenomenon to disconnect when you have a lot of pain. It is a natural process. But yes, um, after the pain has, what do you say, after a certain amount of time, when the pain has reduced, then it is important to connect back to the body in that particular region. Otherwise, the virtual map, so a brain, it maps every specific part in the body, which is how I know I have a pain in my right toe and not my left toe, my right knee and not my left knee. So we have a virtual map of our whole body in our brain. Right? So, yeah, I mean, it is important to connect back into that place. Otherwise, the brain will find that place missing. It's empty. It's not there. I cannot connect to this space at all. So if something happens, I will not know in that region. So it is after the disconnect happens, it is important to reconnect, which is where body awareness, body perception is very essential, and that happens through alternate therapies. You start becoming aware of your own body.
So this is one thing which I am a little bit of doubtful. Disconnect means what? Yeah, I'm recovered from the pain. There is no more pain. That is what is disconnection.
Either it can be that the pain has gone, but you have not got a full physical sensation of how it used to feel like before. For some people, it may feel tight, it may become rigid. For some people, they just cannot feel that part of the body because it had gone through so much of pain.
Okay.
And the important thing is to bring them back into body awareness. So even in Yog Nidra, when Gurudev takes us through different parts of the body, sometimes you're like, I can't feel this part. I'm not able to connect to this part of the body. When he says right toe or left knee, sometimes I'm not able to connect with it. It may be because I have a history with that place. And because there's something happened and now my brain has forgotten to map again. That happens as well.
Okay, one more is, what is loop?
Loop is something that is continuous. It is a continuum. Over here, we are talking about a threat loop, a danger loop, where there is nothing physically wrong, but the brain and the nervous system thinks that there is something wrong, and it still tries to protect that place when it doesn't need any protection, which leads to a hypersensitivity is what we call, or a hypervigilance. So the smallest of things can trigger that pain.
Just one more thing, Nikita, is that from your experience, can you tell us whether the emotional pain is, addressed more easy than physical pain? I mean, what is it actually? Is it more difficult to address emotional pain, or what about the physical pain? Which is more difficult, I mean to say, to address?
It's very difficult to say this is more difficult and that is not difficult, because it depends on what each of it is, right? Now, a heartbreak can feel like an acute back pain. A loss of someone we love may feel like an acute heaviness in the chest. That is always, it feels like there's a rock in the center of the chest sometimes. Or when a huge change that is supposed to happen in our life, or a big change that is happening, our legs or our knees or our joints starts to pain, you know. So these are just examples, but anything can trigger anything. Or sometimes when we feel alone or alienated or abandoned, something happens in the pit of our stomach. So we have specific words we use when we experience pain: emotional pain, physical pain. So it's very difficult to say that this is easier to deal with and that is not. No, I mean, both has their own place, and both types of pain depends on every individual's capacity to deal with it.
Okay. So
So
there is one more that I want to ask you is
yeah,
that sometimes people have negative thoughts,
yes,
which which leads to sort of pain, and then
yes,
he cries.
yeah,
There is no such pain. You can say there is no physical pain, but the expression is through cry. You're crying.
okay.
So you can, I mean, this therapy helps that also. I mean, you can get recovered on that from that.
Yeah, because when you say that there is an emotion but there is no pain, that emotion will have a sensation in a specific part of the body. So for instance, if this person who you mention is crying a lot, there is a memory that the person is attaching the crying to, and the moment that memory is, the person is thinking of that memory and that emotion is coming up, there is a specific sensation in a part of the body, and that is unique for each person. For some people it can be chest area, for some people can it be solar plexus, for some abdomen. So the sensation is always there whether the pain is there or not. So every emotion has a sensation. So if that sensation is addressed, and it is addressed to be through BCST and other therapies, eventually it will change.
Sometimes what happens, this pain, emotional pain, leads to sort of palpitation on the heart. Heart
Exactly. It is a
palpitation.
physical sensation. A palpitation is nothing but a physical sensation, which means that your heart rate is rapid.
Yeah.
It has a physical expression to it. Definitely. So, anxiety has a physical representation to it. Anxiety is when you have all this, rapid heart rate, you have palpitations, you have sweating that people go through, there is extreme racing of the mind. All that is there. And then some people, I mean, every people,
Panic attack.
exactly. So every person experiences it or expresses it differently. It always has a physical sensation to it. And normally we think that pain is only physical and it has no emotional relationship to it. And we think that anxiety and trauma is purely mental and it doesn't have any physical expression to it. This is the gap we address in BCST. Even though it is physical, there will always be an emotional component. And even though it is mental and emotional, there will always be a physical component, which is why you cannot disconnect the two.
Okay. Uh, you think that by controlling mind,
Mm-hmm.
we can reduce the emotional pain? I mean,
When
is it possible to control mind through, sometimes what I was telling you, asking you about the negative thoughts, so maybe there is some way that we can change this negative thought to positive
Yes,
and
through
get a
the
result.
body,
Yeah.
through the body, through the breath, because the body and the breath are always in the present moment. You can't say this is this body was my this is 10 days breath old, this is 20 days body old. Mind can be in the number of years behind with that incident. The mind can go past future, body and breath cannot go past future. You cannot have yesterday's breath today or tomorrow's breath today, right? Is it possible?
No, no.
Then So yes, which is why we say in bodywork therapies, in BCST, in other therapies, we work in the present moment. What is happening right now? Where is the sensation right now? How do we release it through the nervous system and bring it back to balance right now? Because the body and the breath is right now. Pranayams, meditation, right now. When you're with your breath, you are there right now. Then the emotions, the negativity is either past or future, right? So that's what
Yeah,
it
sometimes you are so down, you don't feel like, sit for a pranayam and do some yoga and all. Then
Yeah,
what to do at that time?
be with the breath.
Okay.
Just attend to the breath.
Yeah. What is trauma? You are talking about trauma. Trauma and anxiety in a layman's word.
It's a huge topic actually. Trauma and
Just
anxiety.
briefly, maybe you can explain. No?
So in anxiety, everything speeds up. So the body goes into a Ferrari car mode.
Okay. Okay.
So there
200
is
kilometers per
complete,
hour.
yes, it's like speeding up, complete speeding up. In trauma, there is collapsing.
Okay. It reduces. Yeah?
Yes, it just shuts you down. Like you
Just
will
opposite, you can say.
complete opposite. Like I'm talking about extreme trauma. Extreme trauma is shut down, and there's, as you call it disconnect. In our line of work, we call it dissociation. People dissociate from their bodies. They don't want to feel so much overwhelmed that they disconnect with their bodies. That is extreme trauma. Anxiety is speeding up, everything is super fast, and trauma is almost a sort of a shutdown. Everything just stops.
Okay. So in case of anxiety, the heart rate increases,
Yes,
heart beats faster.
yes.
But in case of trauma, it is just opposite. Heart beats, very
Everything
slow.
slows down.
Everything closed down and
Everything.
shuts down at a certain moment.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Now, how is physical pain related to emotions? I think we have already talked about it.
Yes.
Okay, so what I believe and what I have understood from this conversation is that uh, in case of emotional pain, there is always a physical link to it,
Yes.
and just vice versa. In
Yes.
case of a physical pain too, there is always a emotional link to it.
Yes. Yes.
So it is always together. It
Yes.
is
It
one
doesn't
cannot. Yeah.
mean that the emotions have to be bad or negative. It just has an emotional component to it. We can label it good, bad, worse. It has an emotional component to it. Yes.
Uh, how does this therapy do to release pain?
By working with the nervous system, and by helping switching off the false alarm and connecting back to the body. Very essential. Present moment, body awareness, body perception, dealing with emotions, switching off the false alarm system, making the person realize that pain is there to protect you, that pain is not fatalistic, and helping them, supporting them in doing certain practices that will help them through this journey. Now, what we think is, okay, you go to a doctor, you go to a therapist, your job is done. No, we are all responsible for our health, aren't we?
Yes, yes,
There's only so
absolutely.
much a doctor and a therapist can do. No,
Yes,
at the end of the day, your health is in your hands.
yes,
So if a
absolutely.
therapist recommends you to do, go do some pranayam, go do some meditation, go start, depending on what the physical condition is or physical pain is, start moving slowly, slowly. Movement is very essential as much as rest. Normally, when people experience a lot of pain, they will not move. They're very scared to move. So, what we do is something called graded exposure. We move very slowly. So, we advise our clients to move but slowly. And then, if you have done 10% today, do 12% tomorrow. Day after, you try and do 12.5. So, there is a graded exposure so that their safety comes back. They are not scared to move their body. Because the moment fear comes in moving the body, the quality of life is absolutely diminished. So, what we do as therapists is we do graded exposure for the clients. We suggest them whatever. So, each person is different. Some people will like yoga, some people will like walking, some people will like, I don't know, swimming, cycling. For every person, it is very, very different. So, whatever movement they like, you do a graded exposure with that. And then reconnect to the body. Find safety in the body, find safety in sensations. Um, and yeah, so the moment you start doing all that, you're so in as therapists, we treat people, we don't treat only pain. A person is an amalgamation of so many things, and that person is feeling a lot of pain, but the person is not the pain. You are not your pain, you are going through pain, and that pain has to be addressed. So we treat the person, and pain is part of it, right? So all of these things are looked into when we do any form of holistic work.
Uh, Now, just one question from my side. I was taking questions from the audience. I mean, from the this thing, live questions. Now, there is one question from my side. Is that sometimes we find in our profession, when where people are moving around the world and they're detached from the family, from the children, and there is lot of pressure, commercial pressure, and then other things are also there. The change of time zone is also there. Like now you're in Asia, you're going to America, where change of time is there.
Correct.
And your sleep pattern totally changes.
Correct.
In that case, we find very difficulty. So now I hear that a lot of people are having the psychological issues because of this thing. So how can this therapy help us? Usually, I see that sleeping disorder is become a very natural to our profession. A lot of my friends, they are having these issues, and they have to go through psychologists and a lot of treatment, this, that, and now there is one because before joining, we have a medical test where the psychological test was not there actually, and once upon a time. Now it has been included. So, how can this therapy help us? It is, once you are on board a ship and the ship is going from, say, Middle East to America, where time change is too much, 12 hours almost. But your timing of work is remain same.
Yeah.
But what we are doing here, the daytime, same thing you have to do in the night time there, and you have to be awake. So over a period of time, initially when you are at a young age, it doesn't matter much. But over a period of time, when you get older, then it becomes difficult, And a lot of people are having this psychological issue, sleeping disorder. How can this therapy help us to come out of this situation?
So first we need to understand sleep. Sleep happens to us because of something called the circadian rhythms, right? So the brain tells you now it is time to sleep and now it is time to stay awake. There is a rhythm to it. There is I mean, your brain tells you, hello, it's morning, you need to wake up, and now it's night, you need to sleep. Yeah. Through our evolutionary system, our brain has become very sophisticated in understanding now it is time to sleep and now it is time to wake up, and this rhythm is called a circadian rhythm in the brain. Right now, the circadian rhythms is controlled by the pituitary and hypothalamus part in the brain. It is all part of the
Yeah.
nervous system,
Yes.
right? All what I'm saying is part of the nervous system. So if there is an imbalance in that, that is when you will have sleep disorders. And BCST, so BCST, the name in itself, cranio is head, sacrum is spine. Rather the last part of the spine is called sacrum, the bone. So we are addressing the nervous system, we are addressing the spinal fluid. The fluid in the brain is called cerebrospinal fluid. Now, the cerebrospinal fluid literally washes the brain and the nervous system 2 to 3 times a day. It removes all the toxins, etc. And when you sleep, it is at a heightened level. So, the cleaning process is at the heightened level. And when any of this gets disturbed because of work or whatever, you start having disorders. So, the moment you start get a session done, the rhythms start to come back into balance. And then the pituitary and the hypothalamus don't get confused when is day, when is night. That is one. And second is meditation. You don't need to go to a therapist for that. That is self therapy. Meditation, the more you meditate, the stronger the nervous system becomes. You can condition it the way you want to. That is the strength of meditation. It conditions the nervous system in a way you want to and keeps your energy levels high. Most often our energy levels, when our energy levels are low, that is when we experience emotional pain, mental pain, trauma, anxiety, etc. etc. प्राण शक्ति जब शरीर में कम हो जाती है तब हमें सारे रोग होने लगते हैं. So Gurudev says that, I think I said this in the last video also, Gurudev says that before you get any condition, 3 months before that it is already there in your pranic body. For it to come to the physical body, it takes so much time. But 3 months before, it is already there in your pranic body. So meditation helps with all of that.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Because I have been doing this also, this meditation part at sadhana, and it is very helpful, and I am getting the results.
Yes.
So what you said is absolutely correct. But there is, there are few things which we cannot avoid. Like as an officer, sometimes you have to be awake 18 hours at a stretch, 20 hours at a stretch, and you get sleep maybe few hours, or maybe half an hour or 1 hour nap. So it is unavoidable. You cannot avoid it.
Yes.
This is what is our life. But yes, okay, what you said, meditation and pranayam is very useful.
Yeah,
And
because
I suggest
even
my colleagues
yeah,
that please do
Gurudev
that.
even suggests, he says in the advanced course knowledge talks as well, he talks about Dhamma. Dhamma is the control of the senses, of all the senses. He says that if you, through meditation and pranayam and kriya and silence and all that, you strengthen your Dhamma, then you can control any sense. Then even if you have to sit 18 hours, you will be able to stay awake 18 hours. So you get the strength to control your senses. That is what meditation does.
Absolutely. Madam, there's one more questions.
Yes.
For a teenager, when he goes through heartbreak in a love relationship, how can we bring him back to life? Okay, that's, I think, another difficult type of
So,
question.
acknowledgement, acceptance is number one. For them, I think at that point in time, there is just so much going on. It may be difficult to connect to the body. They can connect to the breath instead. And definitely CST sessions will help because you are providing that space of safety to the person. So whatever is there inside has the ability to come out safely and slowly so that it doesn't overwhelm the body or re-traumatize the person again. But yes, there is a release that happens. And I guess It's a very it's a very Gurudev type question. So I
Yes.
guess it is just accept and move on. He keeps saying that there are so many billion people and it is their loss, not the young chap's loss. Whoever is given the heartbreak. So I guess it's more a Gurudev type question.
Yeah, I think there will be a emotional this thing pain, which will result in some physical link to it. So address that,
Yes.
and this will help.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nikita ji, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I hope this will help our colleagues and those who are watching this video
Yes.
to a large extent. And looking forward that we'll have more sessions with you, and
Definitely.
we can help people to
Yes.
understand this therapy and have good health always. Thank you very much, Nikita.